Hello there and welcome to Landscape Stories. Today we travel through the fascinating geological history of the Death Valley, a region of extremes holds secrets dating back over a billion years, revealing the dynamic process that shaped our planet. So let's begin, folks. Think of Death Valley not just as a hot, dry desert, but as a place with a history that stretches back over a billion years. It's like the Earth's own time machine, showing us layers upon layers of its past. Way back, over a billion years ago, during the Proterozoic era, the story of Death Valley starts. This was a time when the Earth's crust, the outermost layer of the planet, was just getting into the groove of forming continents and oceans. So we're talking about rocks that are incredible old, like over a billion years old, during a time called the Proterozoic era, which is a fancy term for a period that lasts from about 2.5 billion to 541 billion years ago, and where some serious underground action was happening. So the Earth was like a giant pressure cooker using heat and pressure to transform rocks. This process is called metamorphism, thanks to the methods like radiometric dating, which means a way to measure the age of things by looking at radioactive elements. Scientists figured out that the metamorphisms of these rocks happened about 1.7 billion years ago. That's ancient. And if you like the video so far, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and smash the subscribe button to stay updated with Earth science. Then, around 1.4 billion years ago, a huge mass of granite decided to crash the party. This granite pushed its way into the existing rock formation and in what's now known as the Panamint Range. On top of this ancient base, new layers started to form, known as the Paramp Group. After the old rocks got lifted up and eroded, new sediment, I mean tiny bits of rock and minerals, settled on top. The Paramp group is like a rock layer cake with different ingredients. At the bottom you have Arcose conglomerate, which is basically a mix of quartz and feldspar bits in a solid background, kind of like chunky peanut butter. Then comes mudstone, which is exactly what it sounds like, rock made from hardened mud. Above that, there is dolomite, a type of rock formed from ancient carbonate banks. Think of it as the calcium in the ocean turning into rock, with some layers even having fossilized algae mats, what we call stromatolites. And the cherry on top, basaltic lava flows. Yes, at one point there were volcanoes erupting and spilling lava that cooled into basalt rock. Fast forward to the Paleozoic era, which started around 541 million years ago. This era is crucial because it's when Death Valley started to look a bit more like the places we know today, but underwater. It was all because of a big sea that covered the area, depositing layers of sediment, stuff like sand, mud, and silt, over millions of years. These layers would eventually harden into the rocks that make up the valley's dramatic landscape today. This was also the era when life exploded in the ocean, leaving behind fossils that tell us about the creatures that lived back then. Jumping to the Mesozoic era, which kicked off about 252 million years ago, this is the time that most of us think of as the age of dinosaurs. But below the surface, the Earth's plates were moving, pushing against each other to form mountains, including the ones around Death Valley. Volcanoes erupted, adding their own touch to the evolving landscape. The area was being sculpted by these immense forces, setting the stage for the Death Valley we recognize. Folks, we are getting closer to home in the Cenozoic era, which started around 66 million years ago and continues to this day. This is when the real action happens for Death Valley. About 16 million years ago, something massive started happening in what's now the southwestern US and northwestern Mexico. The Earth's crust began to stretch, yes, like pulling on a piece of bubble gum, until it gets thinner in the middle. This process is part of what geologists call the basing and range phenomenon. Because of this stretching, which is still going on, we have ended up with ranges of mountains, the pieces that didn't stretch as much, and valleys or basins, the stretched out parts. This whole stretching and moving thing was helped along by faults. Imagine faults as cracks in the earth where movement can happen. Normal faults allow blocks of the earth to move up and down, while strike slip faults, like giant zippers running along the ground, allow things to slide side to side. This side to side motion was partly caused by the Pacific Plate, a huge piece of Earth's crust, moving along the famous San Andreas Fault to the west of Death Valley. Between 12 million and 4 million years ago, as the earth stretched and moved, it wasn't just silent and graceful. Volcanoes erupted, adding a new rock to the scene. Meanwhile, erosion from the rising mountains filled the valleys with sediment, keeping the valley floors relatively at the same elevation over time, despite all the stretching and sinking. Then, about 2 million years ago, the Pleistocene ice age kicked in. Glaciers from the Sierra Nevada mountains melted, sending water rushing into the valleys, creating a series of lakes, including one in Death Valley called Lake Manling. But as the ice ages ended and the climate warmed up, these lakes began to dry out, leaving behind salt, flats, and playas, dry lakes bed. The only hints of these ancient lakes are the faint shorelines etched into the valley sides. And while all this geological drama was unfolding, humans eventually made their appearance, adding their own chapter to the Death Valley story. From Native Americans who found ways to thrive in this harsh environment to gold prospectors and tourists, the human history in Death Valley is just as layered and fascinating as its rocks. And you might wonder why any of this matters, right? Well, understanding the geological history of a place like Death Valley gives us clues about the Earth's past, helping scientists figure out how landscape change over time and predicting what might happen in the future. Plus, it's a reminder of how awesome and powerful nature is, capable of creating and transforming environments in ways that seem almost unimaginable. Death Valley's story is a testament to the Earth's endless ability to reinvent itself, with each era adding a new layer to the story. It's a place where you can literally walk through time, seeing the evidence of Earth's dynamic story all around you. So, thank you for joining us on this adventure. And if you are fascinated by how our planet is shaped by forces unseen, check out our previous video right here and give us a thumbs up, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to Landscape Stories. And what mysteries of our planets captivated you? Share your thoughts and suggestions in the comments for future explorations in the comments below, right? Your curiosity might just be our next adventure. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and stay curious.